Breaking news. Not really, but Nvidia, the king of AI, reported earnings yesterday. And while we were expecting a big move in either direction, that never really happened. But it's the comments from CEO Jensen Huang that really peeled back the curtain to show what is in store for the AI market and what it means for the stock market moving forward. And in this video, I'm going to reveal to you what's coming so that you can be prepared for a run that isn't over quite yet. All that and more in today's video. Check it out. What's going on, everybody? Jerry Hritz here. Courage pays better than fear trading. And you know that I love to talk about Nvidia on this channel because they drive the stock market. Hands down, it is the most important company when it comes to the markets. And yesterday they reported earnings. I put together an earnings preview. I thought that there was a great opportunity for this thing to gap higher and hold because it hasn't done that since May 2024. And that didn't happen. Now, it wasn't because the numbers were horrible. They actually posted a double beat. But when you are a company like Nvidia, you are held to a different expectation than the complete rest of the stock market. And Nvidia, unfortunately, when it comes to Wall Street, has to be perfect in order to get a gap up and a move higher off of their earnings report. And while they weren't perfect, they were damn close, if we're being honest. Again, I said double beat revenue, 46.74 billion, up 56% year over year, right? And that beat Wall Street's expectations. Their adjusted earnings per share, $1.02 versus the estimate of $1.01. And the thing that they're being punished for is because they slightly missed their data center revenue, which is at the heart of their AI business. And it felt just shy of analyst estimates. And because of that, we didn't see a strong move. Now, if you go back and look at the charts, and I'll put it up here on the screen, you could see that it dropped about $11 from the high that it made post-market, recovered, and then just chopped around sideways. And then we saw today at market open, today being Thursday, August 28th, that it did recover and it's off the lows and it's climbing at the time that I'm recording this. And what that tells me and what that should tell you is despite this miss, despite that initial decline on Nvidia off of the report, there is strength here and there's excitement here and there's enthusiasm because when it comes to AI, this thing is just getting started. What is it that was said in the earnings call that's important that we need to pay attention to? And whenever Jensen Huang speaks, again, the CEO of Nvidia, he's a rock star when it comes to the stock market. Everybody knows who he is. He's supplanted Elon Musk as the grandfather of the markets. He's got that leather jacket that he wears. But he had some interesting comments, and I wanted to highlight some of these in today's video. And he said in the earnings call that AI is advancing at light speed. And that's important. And he's also said before that we're just in the early stages of seeing the power and impact of AI on our world. And he talked about how the demand for the Blackwell chips that Nvidia creates is amazing, all right? And that there is no let up in the demand for that. It's insatiable. And his customers for these chips, Meta, Google, Amazon, Tesla, all the big companies in the Mag 7, they need these chips in order to utilize them for their AI with their companies. And you're talking $320 billion in AI infrastructure being invested into Nvidia, being spent on Nvidia chips by these companies. That's a huge, massive vote of confidence in terms of what Nvidia offers. So that right there alone gives confidence for investors that Nvidia is here to stay. The thing that really held Nvidia back yesterday, and if this was taken care of, if this wasn't an issue, you would have seen that massive pop because they set a sales record in terms of their revenue, but it's China. And it's the restrictions that have been placed on NVIDIA in terms of selling their H20 chips to China. They are not permitted to do that. And there were no H20 sales reported in Q2. So think about that for a second. Had they been able to sell those chips and export those chips to China, they would have generated between, some estimates say, $2 to $5 billion in revenue, and that would have been built into what they reported. Now, they crushed earnings. Imagine if that money was factored into their report, what type of response that we would have seen. So they're being unfairly punished for this rule, this statute that's in place right now that is restricting the export of these chips to China. But Jensen is pushing for a stripped down version of their Blackwell chip to be able to re-enter China. It is known as the B30A, but they're awaiting on U.S. approval. So that's something that we have to monitor to see if it happens and what the response will be in terms of the price of the stock. And so ultimately, Wang was super bullish, optimistic on the future of AI and talked with confidence about what we are going to see in the future when it comes to artificial intelligence, that it's the next industrial revolution. We've heard that several times, but he framed NVIDIA as being the backbone of AI. So think about that for a second. You have a spine, right? It holds you upright. And NVIDIA is that for the entire AI world. It's going to keep it standing at attention, and that we're just getting started. But what we have to see, what has to be resolved, and I'm sure that it will. Again, this is where the tariff discussions come into play, the trade deals. Once that trade deal is achieved between the US and China, and we get some of these restrictions lifted, then we could see a massive move in this stock. And so even though we saw short-term volatility, we saw a drop in the price following earnings, we should not be scared away from NVIDIA or even other AI companies, because there is still more room to run. There is still more optimism to come. There are still more innovations to come from this company. And a short downturn in the price, a simple correction, even a significant drawback like we saw with the tariff weakness in April, it should not be something that scares us away from this company, because we are just in the early stages of AI, and the price potential for this stock is significant. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to run up to some of the price targets that analysts have set on this right away. You have numbers being put out there, 205, 210, 230. But eventually it will get there. And if you forecast out 10 years from now, it's more than likely going to be significantly higher than that. And again, if you just keep in mind too, that in May of 2024, there was a split, the stock split actually in June of 2024, but NVIDIA hit a price point of $1,000, the price split, and now it is slowly climbing back up there. And it's not a stretch to say that it cannot hit $1,000 once again, even post-split. Now, it might take some time, obviously, but there is still a lot to be excited about in terms of NVIDIA. But the one thing that often isn't talked about in terms of headwinds for this company is its competition. Your AMDs who are creating GPUs like NVIDIA does to compete in this space. And if they are able to catch up, and we know that you never want to say never, but it's unlikely that they'll ever completely overtake NVIDIA, but they could eat away at some of their customer base. So that's something that could be a bit of a headwind. And also too, you have companies like Amazon and Microsoft who are creating their own chips. And you have to ask yourself, how much will that impact NVIDIA's hold on the market? Now, those companies are about 2 years away from that really making that a reality, having an impact, but it's something that we need to be aware of, the competition in the space and also these companies generating their own chips. So it's just something that you want to have in the back of your mind if you are an investor. So concluding thoughts here. Nvidia is just getting started. Sure, it has been on a massive run dating back to 2023. Sure, it is the king of the market. Sure, it is extended to near all-time highs. We can expect short-term volatility. We can expect short-term pullbacks in this stock. We've seen it pull back to $90, $88. That has happened, but it has always rebounded. And despite those short-term periods of weakness, those corrections, it has continued higher. And we should expect that to continue to happen with this company and with the expectations and new chips that it's going to be creating and putting out into the market. So the AI revolution is just getting started. And at the heart of it all, the pulse of this market, it comes from Nvidia, the king of the stock market. And so what are your thoughts? Where is Nvidia heading in terms of its price point in the next year? By the end of this year, where do you think it will be? And 10 years from now, where do you think it will be? Drop that in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you back here for the next video. Thank you so much, and make it a great day.